Shri Sai Ram, Chapter 14. Ratanji Wadia of Nanded, Saint Moulisaheb, Dakshina. In the last chapter, we described how Baba's word and grace cured many incurable diseases. Now we shall describe how Baba blessed Mr. Ratanji Wadia and gave him an issue. The life of this saint is naturally sweet. His various doings, eating, walking, and his natural saying also sweet. His life is bliss incarnate. Sai gave bliss to his devotees as a means of remembrance. He gave them various stories of duty and action which ultimately led them to true religion. His object may be that people should live happily in this world, but they should be ever cautious and achieve the object of their life via self-realization. We get human body as a result of merits in past births, and it is worth while that with its aids we should attain devotion and liberation in this life. So we should never be lazy, but always be on the alert to gain our goal of life. If you hear the Leelas of Sai daily, you will always see him day and night. You will remember him in your mind. When you assimilate Sai in this way, your mind will lose its fickleness, and if you go in this manner, it will finally be merged in pure consciousness. Ratanji of Nanded. Now let us come to the main story of this chapter. In Nanded, in the Nizam state, there lived a Parsi mill contractor and trader by name Ratanji Shuparji Wadia. He had amassed a large amount of money and acquired fields and lands. He had cattle, horses, and conveyance and was very prosperous. In all outward appearances, he looked very happy and contented, but inwardly he was not so. Providential dispensation is such that no one in this world is completely happy, and rich Ratanji with no exception to this. He was liberal and charitable, gave food and clothing to the poor, and helped all in various ways. The people took him to be a good and happy man, but Ratanji thought himself miserable as he has no issue, male or female, for a long time. Just as Kirtan, singing glories of the Lord without love or devotion, song without rhythmical accompaniment, Brahmin without the sacred thread, proficiency in all arts without common sense, pilgrimage without repentance, and ornamentation without a necklace are futile and useless. So is a householder without an issue. Ratanji always brooded on this matter and said in his mind, "Would God be ever pleased to grant me a son?" He thus looked morose and did not relish his food day and night. He had enveloped with anxiety as to whether he would ever be blessed with a son. He had a great regard for Das Gunu Maharaj. He saw him and opened his heart before him. Das Gunu advised him to go to Shirdi, take Baba's darshan, fall at his feet and seek his blessings and pray for an issue. Ratanji liked the idea and decided to go to Shirdi. After some days, he went to Shirdi, took Baba's darshan and fell at his feet. Then opened a basket. He took out a beautiful garland of flowers and placed it around Baba's neck and offered him with a basket of fruits. With reverence, he then sat near Baba and prayed to him, saying, "Many persons who find themselves in difficult situations come to you, and you relieve them immediately. Hearing this, I have anxiously sought your feet. Please do not disappoint me." Saibaba then asked him for Dakshina of ₹5, which Ratanji intended to give, but added that he had already received ₹3.14 from him, that he should pay the balance only. Hearing this, Ratanji was rather puzzled. He could not make out as to what Baba meant. This was the first time he thought that he had come to Shirdi, and how was it that Baba said that he had early received ₹3.14 from him? He could not solve the riddle, but he sat at Baba's feet and gave the balance of the Dakshina asked for, explained to Baba fully as to why he has come and sought his help, and prayed that Baba should bless him with a son. Baba was moved and told him not to worry, and that thence onward his bad days have ended. He then gave him Udi, placed his hand on his head and blessed him, saying that Allah, God, will satisfy its heart's desires. Then after taking Baba's leave, Ratanji returned to Nanded and told Das Gunu everything that took place at Shirdi. He said that everything went on well there, that he got Baba's darshan and blessing with prasad. But there was one thing which he could not understand. Baba said to him that he had got rupees 3 rupees and 14 cents before. Please explain as to what Baba meant by this remark. He said to Das Gunu, I never went to Shirdi before, and how could I give him the sum to which Baba referred? To Das Gunu, too, it was a puzzle, and he thought much over it for a long time. Sometime afterwards, it struck him that Ratanji had received some days ago a Mohammedan saint by name Moulisaheb in his house and had spent some money for his reception. This Moulisaheb was a well-known saint of Nanded and worked as a potter. When Ratanji decided to go to Shirdi, this Moulisaheb turned up at Ratanji's house. Ratanji knew him and loved him, so he gave him a small party in his honor. Das Gunu got from Ratanji the memo of expenses of this reception, and everybody was wonderstruck to see that the expenses amounted to exactly 3 rupees and 14 cents. Nothing more, nothing less. They all came to know that Baba was omniscient, that though he lived in Shirdi, he knew what happened outside, far away from Shirdi. In fact, he knew the past, present, and future, and could identify himself with anybody. In this particular instance, how could you know the reception given to Moulisaheb and the amount spent thereon unless he could identify himself with him and be one with him? Ratanji was satisfied with his explanation, and his faith in Baba was confirmed and increased. In due time, he was blessed with a son, and his joy knew no bounds. It is said that he had in all of a dozen issues, out of which only 4 survived. In a footnote towards the end of this chapter, it is stated that Baba told Rao Bahadur Hari Vinayak Sate after the death of his first wife to remarry and that he would get a son. R.B. Sate married second time. The first 2 issues by this wife were daughters, and he therefore felt very despondent. But the third issue was a son. Baba's word did come true, and he was satisfied. Dakshina. Now we shall close this chapter with a few points about Dakshina. It's a well-known fact that Baba always asked for Dakshina from people who went to him. Somebody may ask a question, if Baba was a fakir and perfectly non-attached, why should he ask for Dakshina and care for money? We shall consider this question broadly now. First, for a long time, Baba did not take anything. He stored burnt matches and filled his pocket with them. He never asked anybody for anything, whether he be a devotee or otherwise. If anybody placed before him a paisa or 2, he purchased oil or tobacco. He was fond of tobacco, for he always smoked a bidi or chilam, an earthen pipe. Then some people thought that they should not go to the saint empty-handed, and therefore placed some copper coins before Baba. If a paisa was placed before him, he used to pocket it. If it was 2 paisa coin, it was returned immediately. Then after Baba's fame had spread far and wide, people began to flock in numbers, and Baba began to ask Dakshina from them. It is said that in the Shruti Veda that puja of the gods is not complete unless a golden coin was offered. If a coin is necessary in the puja of the gods, why should it not so in the pujas of the saints also? Ultimately, the Shastras laid it down that when one goes to see God, king, saint or guru, he must not go empty-handed. He should offer something, preferably money. In this connection, we may notice the precepts recommended by the Upanishads. The Brihatnayak Upanishad says that the Lord Prajapati advised the gods, men and demons by one letter Da. The gods understood by this letter that they should practice Dhamma, that is self-control. The men thought or understood they should practice Dana, that is charity. The demons understood they should practice Daya, compassion. To men, charity or giving was recommended. The teacher in the Taittiriya Upanishad exhorts his people to practice charity and other virtues. Regarding charity, he said, give with faith, or even without it, give with magnanimity, that is liberally, give with modesty, awe and sympathy, in order to teach the devotees the lesson of charity and to remove their attachment to money and thus to purify their minds. Baba extracted Dakshina from them, but they were this peculiarity, as Baba said that he had to give 100 times more of what he received. There are many instances in which this has happened. To quote an instance, Mr. Ganpatrao Bodas, the famous actor, says in his Marathi autobiography that on Baba's pressing him often for Dakshina, he emptied his money bag before him. The result of this was, as Mr. Bodas said, that in later life he never lacked money as it came to him abundantly. There was also a secondary meaning of Dakshina in many cases in which Baba did not want any pecuniary amount. To quote two instances, Baba asked rupees 15 as Dakshina from Professor G.G. Narke, who replied him that he did not have any money. Then Baba said, "I know you have no money, but you are reading Yoga Vasistha. Give me Dakshina from that." Giving Dakshina in that case meant deriving lessons from the book and lodging them in the heart, where Baba resides. In the second case, Baba asked a certain lady, Mrs. R.A. Tarka, to give rupees 6 as Dakshina. The lady felt pain as she had nothing to give. Then her husband explained to her that Baba wanted 6 inner enemies, that is, lust, anger, avarice, etc., to be surrendered to him. Baba agreed with this explanation. It is to be noted that though Baba collected a lot of money by Dakshina, he would distribute the whole amount the same day, and the next morning he would become a poor fakir as usual. When Baba took his Mahasamadhi, even after receiving thousands and thousands of rupees as Dakshina, for about 10 years he had only few rupees in his possession. In short, Baba's main object in taking Dakshina from his devotees was to teach them the lesson of renunciation and purification. Postscript. Mr. B.V. Dev of Thane, retired Mamlatar and a great devotee of Baba, has written an article on this subject, Dakshina, in Shri Sai Leela magazine, volume 2, page 626, in which he says as follows: Baba did not ask Dakshina of all. If some gave Dakshina unasked, he sometimes accepted it and at other times refused it. He asked it of certain devotees only. He never demanded it from those devotees who thought in their mind that Baba should ask for it and then they should pay it. If anybody offered it against his wish, he never touched it, and if he kept it there, he asked them to take it away. He asked for a small or big amount from devotees according to their wish, devotion and convenience. He asked it even of women and children. He never asked of all the rich for it nor of all the poor. Baba never got angry with those of whom he asked Dakshina and who did not give it. If any Dakshina was sent through some friend who forgot to hand over the same to Baba, he reminded him of it and made him pay it. On some occasions, Baba used to return some sum from the amount tendered as Dakshina and ask the donor to guard it or keep it in his shrine for worship. This procedure benefited the donor or devotee immensely. If anybody offered more than the original intended to give, he returned the extra amount. Sometimes he asked for some more Dakshina than what they originally intended to give, and if they had no money, asked them to beg or borrow from others. Of some, he demanded Dakshina 3 or 4 times a day. Out of the amount collected at Dakshina, Baba spent very little for his own sake, for buying chilam, smoking pipe, and fuel for his dhuni, sacred fire, and all the rest he distributed as charity in varying proportion to various persons. All the paraphernalia of the Shirdi Sansthan was brought by various rich devotees at the instant and suggestion of Radhakrishna Mai. Baba always used to get wild and scolded those who brought any costly and rich articles. He said to Mr. Nanasaheb Chandorkar that all his property consisted of 1 kopin, that is codpiece, 1 stray piece of cloth, 1 kafni, and a turnal, tin pot, and that all the people troubled him with bringing all these unnecessarily costly articles. Woman and wealth are the 2 main obstacles in the way of our Paramartha, that is spiritual life, and Baba had provided in Shirdi 2 institutions, that is Dakshina and Radhakrishna Mai, for whenever they came to him, he demanded Dakshina and from them asked them to go to the school, Radhakrishna Mai's house. If they stood these 2 tests well, that is, they showed that they were free from attachment from woman and wealth, their progress in spirituality was rapid and assured by Baba's grace and blessings. Mr. Dev has also quoted passages from the Gita and Upanishads and showed that charity given in a holy place or to a holy personage conduces to the donor's welfare. What is more holy than Shirdi and in preceding deity Saibaba? Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all. Om Shri Sai Ram.